Most people think manifesting a specific person is about trying harder, thinking more, or somehow finding the perfect method that will finally make it happen. They sit there watching reality, waiting for a sign, reading too much into every message, every silence, every little shift in energy, and the whole time they are still living from the same place of lack. They want the relationship, but inside, they still feel like someone who is waiting to be chosen, waiting to be loved, waiting for life to finally respond. And that is exactly why it keeps feeling difficult. Because the problem was never that the desire is too big or the person is too far away. The real problem is that the old identity is still active. The old story is still alive. The part of you that says, I hope this works. I wonder if they feel the same. Maybe it's too late, is the very thing holding the experience in place. But the moment you understand that manifestation is not about convincing the outside world, and instead about stepping into the version of yourself who already has what you want, everything starts to simplify. You stop chasing, you stop begging, you stop trying to force proof, and you begin to realize that the relationship you want is not something you need to earn from the outside. It is something you first have to hold within your own consciousness. That is why this is the easiest way to manifest a specific person. Because once you shift your identity, the pressure disappears, the old story loses its grip, and you start living from the state where love is already yours. The easiest way to manifest a specific person is to stop asking what they are doing and start asking who you are being. That single shift changes everything. Because most people are so focused on the other person's behavior that they completely forget the source of their experience is their own inner state. If you keep identifying as the one who is waiting, wondering, and hoping, then you will keep experiencing a reality that matches waiting, wondering, and hoping. But if you mentally move into the identity of someone who is already loved, already secure, and already in the relationship, then your inner world begins to reorganize itself around that assumption. This is not about pretending or forcing yourself to smile through doubt. It is about accepting that your inner state is the starting point of everything. The version of you that feels chosen does not move through life the same way the version of you that feels uncertain does. The chosen version is relaxed. The chosen version does not panic when there is silence. The chosen version does not collapse when there is no immediate evidence. It simply knows. And that knowing is powerful because it is no longer built on outside approval. When you are trying to manifest someone from a place of neediness, you are basically telling yourself that love is outside of you and that you have to get it from one particular person in order to feel whole. But the truth is, the feeling of wholeness has to come first. You cannot make a relationship your source of peace and then expect that relationship to arrive with peace in it. The peace has to be present in you before it shows up around you. This is why self-concept matters so much. Because if you do not feel worthy, secure, and enough, then even if the person comes back, the old fear will try to rebuild the same pattern again. So the work is not to obsess over the person. The work is to become the person who naturally experiences being loved by them. That is the shift. And once you understand that, you stop trying to push the 3D into place and start living from the end. You stop asking, how do I get them? And start embodying, of course this works for me. That quiet certainty is what changes the game. The old story is powerful only because it has been repeated. Maybe you told yourself they moved on. Maybe you told yourself they forgot you. Maybe you told yourself you are always the one who gives more. Maybe you told yourself love never stays. Every time you repeat one of those thoughts, you are not just remembering the past, you are continuing it. And the more you continue it, the more natural it feels. That is how identities are formed. They are built through repetition. But the beautiful part is that the same way the old story was built, a new story can be built too. You do not have to fight the old story. You just have to stop feeding it. You do not need to keep revisiting every memory, every mistake, every disappointment. You only need to decide that none of that is who you are anymore. The old story may have been real once, but it does not have to be your ongoing reality. The moment you stop treating it like truth, it begins to lose its weight. And this is where people often make manifestation harder than it needs to be. They think they need to keep doing techniques until the outer world finally changes. But the techniques only work when they support the state you are trying to live from. If the inner assumption is still, I don't have it yet, then all the affirmations in the world will feel like effort. But if the inner assumption becomes, this is already mine, then the whole process becomes lighter, easier, natural. You do not have to force belief in one giant leap. You only need to begin with acceptance. Accept the possibility first. Accept that your inner world is creative. Accept that the version of you who already has the relationship exists in consciousness right now. Then start returning to that identity again and again until it feels familiar. That is how self-concept shifts. Not through one dramatic moment, but through quiet consistency. And as your self-concept changes, your emotional reactions begin to change too. You stop reacting from fear and start responding from peace. You stop taking silence as rejection. You stop seeing distance as the final word. You stop making your value dependent on someone else's behavior. This is huge because once you stop handing away your power, your energy changes immediately. You are no longer trying to get love to save you. You are becoming the kind of person who already knows they are lovable. That feeling of being already chosen is not just a nice idea. It is the state that aligns you with the relationship itself. Because love responds best to ease, not pressure. It responds to certainty, not panic. It responds to the version of you who is internally settled, not the version of you who is constantly checking for signs. And that is why working on self-concept is never separate from manifesting SP. It is the foundation of it. When you are happy and at peace with yourself, you are not manifesting from emptiness. You are manifesting from fullness. And that changes everything. Because now the relationship is not being asked to complete you. It is simply being welcomed into a life that already feels good. That is a very different energy. One is desperate, the other is magnetic. So the question is not whether your specific person can come into your life. The real question is whether you are willing to become the version of yourself who no longer needs to ask that question from doubt. Are you willing to drop the old pattern of waiting? Are you willing to release the story that says love is difficult for you? Are you willing to stop living like someone who is outside the relationship and start living like someone who is already in it? Because once you do, the manifestation stops feeling like a battle and starts feeling like a return to yourself, a return to peace, a return to the inner state where love is not missing, it is already present. And from there, everything begins to rearrange. That is why this is the easiest way to manifest a specific person. Not because the desire becomes smaller, but because you become bigger than the doubt. Not because the relationship is forced, but because the identity changes. Not because you begged life to give it to you, but because you finally became the one who already knows it is theirs. And when that happens, the old story no longer has the power to define you. The fear loses its voice. The waiting ends. The overthinking quiets down. And what remains is a simple, powerful truth. You were never trying to get love from outside you. You were only learning to remember it within yourself first. I hope this helped you. I will meet you with another golden nugget soon. Happy manifesting.